Hello neighbor, I'm Robert Burns, and we're going to talk about one more aspect of real estate auctions during this segment. And regrettably, it's one I wish I did not have to cover. And I'll let you know now, it's going to get a little heated. It's going to get a little hot. Because this is something that gets under my dander. It gets my dander up more than anything I know of. It is a regrettable aspect of this business. I wish it didn't exist, but it does. And as a prospective auction buyer or seller for that matter, because you may approach an auctioneer who sees no problem with this, what I'm about to discuss, I see a very big problem with it. And that is the topic of shill bidding. Now, what is shill bidding? Shill bidding is the intentional placement of someone in that audience of bidders who bids up the property without the slightest intention whatsoever to purchase the property. That's shill bidding. The person doing that bidding is called the shill bidder, also referred to sometimes as the capper or the booster. Let me just say, and I want this to sink in clearly, myself is Robert Burns, and I speak as president of Auction Sales Fast. I believe unequivocally that shill bidding is dishonest, is fraudulent, is damnable, and it has no place in the auction business. And I've been kind in my characterization. It is, I believe, the single biggest problem facing the auction industry today. And the practice of pumping up the bid, just doing nothing more than, you may as well say, we're taking out a classified ad and X is the amount you got to pay. It destroys the very transparency that auction set about to bring, and that is what a willing buyer is willing to pay. Now, there are some in the industry that would say, in fact there's one prominent gentleman who would say, and has said, that as long as you're not putting a gun to the bidder's head, everything's fair game. I'll let that sink in for a moment. That philosophy is, as long as you're not putting a gun to the bidder's head, anything else is fair game. Well, let's see how much logic that makes. Let's say you went into a bank to borrow $100,000. And you showed that banker that, well, I've got a $100,000 CD in this bank in Oklahoma. I've got another one over here in Tennessee. I've got one in Seattle. The statement is totally falsified. You don't have any of those CDs. And the banker says, thank you so much for giving us the pleasure of loaning you this money. And they make you the loan, and you go out there, and soon you don't pay. According to that theory, it should be a no harm, no foul situation. You see what I'm saying? Because the guy didn't walk in there with a gun and hold the bank up. That's my logic. Because there is no logic to that argument, that as long as you don't put a gun to the bidder's head, everything else is fair game. Let me tell you something, the FBI is going to be very concerned with that falsified financial statement. It won't be a no harm, no foul situation. You see what I'm saying? It is not going to be a no harm, no foul situation. We had one prominent representative who introduced a bill after he felt he had been victimized by shill bidding, and it is an allegation, at a prominent real estate auction conducted in Thibodaux, Louisiana. The practice so infuriated him that he put forth legislation that would criminalize the practice with some rather stiff penalties. There are only two parties who have an interest in shill bidding. Only two. The seller and or the auctioneer. And let me tell you something, if you're getting very close to that reserve number, talking about you as the auctioneer, there is a huge financial interest to engage in shill bidding. And I'll give you an example. If a property has a reserve of $500,000 and your bidding is at $460,000 with a 10% buyer's premium, you have enough to get the deal done. You're at $506,000 after you include the buyer's premium. But guess what? Seller wants $500,000. That only leaves $600,000 for you as the auctioneer. But what about if I got a shill bidder over here at $480,000, $480,000 now, $500,000, I want to put $480,000, $500,000, $500,000. If it works, you got that legitimate bidder who was in at $460,000 to get back in at $500,000. Now your contract price is $550,000. Your compensation went from $6,000 to $50,000. That's why there can be a huge financial incentive to the auctioneer to do that. Nevertheless, as I stated at the outset, it is damnable. It is dishonest. It is fraudulent. It is crooked. And as Representative Baldon pointed out, it is illegal. Well, it's illegal even in the state of Louisiana. It is illegal. Problem is, it's just a $500 fine and a misdemeanor. All right? That was the purpose of Representative Baldon's bill, was to increase that penalty. What we at Auction Sells Fast opted to do, I supported Representative Baldon's bill, because I want to assure you, as a bidder at an Auction Sells Fast auction, we have a zero tolerance for shill bidding. Zero. And I can tell you right now, if a seller ever secretly puts one in that I'm not aware of, and I find out about it, you haven't seen anger until you've seen the reaction I'm going to have. And I will assist whatever final bidder was in that. If I find out a seller's ever done that, and going after them to every ounce of fiber in my being, that's how much this thing angers me. All you have in the end is your reputation. That's all you've got. And to smatter it with this kind of garbage, to me, is inexcusable. And the problem with it is, you not only give yourself a bad name, you give the whole industry a bad name, and I take offense to it. We have one auctioneer that says, well, if you declare the reserve as so-and-so, you may as well pass it right on. Okay? That's the logic. So what they're in essence saying is, you need to rely on my smoke and mirrors tricks. I'm a magician. I can get the crowd pumped up. I can make them believe these bids are coming when they're not really coming, and I can fool you into bidding higher. Now, just lay the truth bare. I don't know about you, but I don't like being made a fool of, especially when it costs us money to just fly right out of my pocket. Now, I'm going to go get that before it goes too far. I don't like it. I'll tell you something else. I don't think many people do like it. And I don't like being made a fool of either. Now, if you want entertainment, there's a venue for that. You can go to the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and it's known you're going to get entertained. When you come to an auction, you ought to be able to rely upon that auction creating the transparency to let you know you were the high bidder and there wasn't somebody over there jacking your bid up. That's what you ought to be able to count on. And you would hope that you would. But all I can tell you is, Damon Baldon's bill encountered such incredible opposition from within the auction community. There are, if you go to the site about the laws on shill bidding, there were 19 auctioneers who showed up to go against this bill. Does that not tell you that the practice is pandemic? Does that not tell you that the practice is pandemic? I'm going to ask a simple question. Has the collective heart of the auction industry become so corrupt that it no longer knows right from wrong? I'll let that ask again. And I would hope that any auctioneer who is tuned into this, and please realize there are many other auctioneers in this state who share my sentiments about shill bidding. They may not be vocal enough to go and tackle the issue head on in such a public forum the way I have. But I will not compromise my values, my beliefs, and especially my integrity. And I want to just mention briefly Steve Profit at J.P. King. It's arguably the most prominent real estate auction firm in America, in the world. And he wrote a very scathing article about shill bidding and the irreparable harm that it does to the auction business. I don't like being made a fool of, and I don't think you do either. And I'm going to tell you something, you're owed better than that. You're owed far better than that. So I would encourage you, at any auction you go up to, don't hesitate to ask that auctioneer what you're doing to prevent shill bidding. I don't mind telling you what we're doing. We implemented a no shill guarantee. And it says that if a court rules that shill bidding has been utilized to artificially inflate the bid, the responsibility for the buyer's premium transfers away from the buyer and to whomever the court deemed utilized shill bidding. And I would encourage you to ask any auctioneer, what are you doing to ensure this practice doesn't happen? And again, I would ask the auction industry to ask itself, has the collective heart of the industry become so corrupted that it no longer knows right from wrong? It grieves me to have had to make this presentation to you, but no presentation, no espouse of all the web pages would be complete if I did not. It's regrettable, it's unfortunate, but it exists, and it's probably going to continue to exist, regrettably. And it's only left up to you. Be on guard, be watchful, be ever mindful.